Hi, my name is Daniel Haight. I'm the president and founder of Darkhorse Emergency. Today I want to give you a quick overview of Darkhorse Response. Our philosophy and our mission is to raise the level of decision-making in the fire service by providing the tools that decision makers need to make great decisions. And we do that by using the metaphor of the continuous improvement loop as used in the medical community, which is to diagnose, then prescribe, and then monitor. The Darkhorse Response Toolkit contains each of those three, and when used appropriately, it will allow you to make the most out of your resources, whether that be stations, personnel, or your vehicle deployments. Darkhorse Diagnostics is a custom-built visual exploration tool built from the ground up for the fire service and ambulance services to better understand their data and to drive towards the root cause of performance issues. So if we look at the screen here, we can see the map, which shows us the spatial location of our, in this case, our events. And the data actually is in here, right behind us. I can click on any of these bubbles and I can see a list of the events that are represented by that bubble. And I have details around the date, the location, the time, the response vehicle, etc. I can actually copy that and paste it and take it out into Excel if I wanted to play around with it. But in the middle here, we have a set of charts that are customizable. The top chart is a special chart. It's your timeline chart. It allows you to scroll through time and to look at different windows and to review the data in different time segments or different windows. I can see the most recent quarter, I can see the most recent month, etc. So all of this is very quick to query the data and to report back. What we see at the left here is the total sum of events. So whatever tab I choose across the top, the metric is displayed in the top left corner. And then finally, along the left are a set of filters, and along the bottom middle here are some kind of highlighted filters that we could look at. Again, all of these are configurable and customizable. I can look instead of by shift, I could instead look by priority and see the results. And filtering is very easy with a simple click. It filtered out the non-emergent calls to be looking at what I am now. Of those 2,000 events, I could choose the metrics across the top and I could look at responses. I could look at my first due performance, or I can look at my time intervals. In this particular service, I might be interested in looking at alarm processing. And if I look at today, I can see, maybe about 3.5 minutes at the 90th percentile of alarm processing. But I could go back to prior year or prior months, and I could see how that has changed over time. And by going back a couple years, I can see that there was a point where our alarm handling was much closer to 2 minutes or even better. And so at the time, historically where there was a switchover, perhaps there's a change in technology, and we can see that reflected in the time intervals. And lastly, I'm going to just highlight this Overgoal Calls tab. What this is showing is all the calls or the events that we responded to that we didn't get to in our target time. And so what this does is it breaks that down by the underlying issue as to what was driving that. So again, early on, back in 2021, the main issues were the green ones, which is turnout time. Basically, our turnout time was enough beyond target that it pushed us over our goal. But as we move through into the future or closer to the present, we can see that actually the alarm handling time is the problem that is primarily pushing us over. And so if we're looking to diagnose, this has given us what we need to understand where we should put our focus. I'll talk to you about Darkhorse deployment. This is the SimCity for Fire Chiefs tool, which satisfies that second phase in that continuous improvement journey. This is where you test different interventions without spending millions of dollars. And it gives you that godlike power of adding stations or vehicles or people and instantly let you see what impact that will have on your workload, on your response performance, or other metrics that you're interested in. So if we look at the screen here, we can see that same kind of a map view of my community. I can zoom in on that map. I can understand the different views of that by fire districts or station zones, etc. And I can see that there's a corridor of high demand kind of in the center and another one on the western edge of this particular community. It'll also show me a drive time view. And now it's very easy to see where my stations are, and I can see that anything green or better is on target. And as I move towards yellow, it's 30 seconds above. Towards orange, it's a minute to a minute and a half above. And towards that darker red, I might be up to 6 or 7 minutes beyond my target time. For each of my station zones, or whatever geographic grouping I have, just by hovering on that, I can see the average drive time, the 90th percentile drive time within that station zone. And then we have the performance view, which actually combines the two together and allows me to see the size of the hex representing the volume of incidents we expect in that location, and the color of the hex is our probability of responding to that in whatever target we have set. Now, if we remember from the Darkhorse diagnostics example, there was an issue around alarm handling. And if we were to look at this map right now, we might say, wow, is it even worth putting effort into this? The response performance we have is only 30%. But the beauty of this is we could say, what if we were able to cut 10 seconds or 20 seconds or maybe even 140 seconds off of our setup times and have something that's more closely aligned with the NFPA target? What would that do to our overall performance? And we can see instantly that moves us from a 30% agency to an 80% agency if we were able to hit that. And so that stops us from solving an alarm handling problem by throwing stations at it or vehicles at it. The other thing that Darkhorse deployment allows me to do is actually move or add or remove stations. Let's say I have budget to add a new station. I can simply click there and say, there we go, I added a new station. And so instead of 80%, what difference does that make? Well, we can see that it brings my performance up by 0.27. So probably not worth the effort, but that's just my first due performance. I can actually look at my ERF performance, which is my effective response force, which I would be interested in, seeing how well and how easily I can get 28 firefighters on site. And now we can see the problem. We're only at about 11% in that high or medium risk response. And so now I can start adding response vehicles, a ladder truck, or even adding people on those vehicles, turn those engines and ladders into 4-person, and see what kind of difference that makes into my overall ERF response. And now we can see that green area has gotten a little larger, and I've gone from 9% to almost 18%. And you could continue to do that and decide where to place those vehicles to cover those medium or even high risk locations. So the power of this tool, finally, is to look at even things like the workload. And I'm going to switch to dynamic zones, and I'm going to add a new station. So I'm going to turn it back to first due, and I'm going to add a new station down here in the southwest corner. And what this is going to do is it's going to draw a new zone around that station. And there it is, it's finished. And I'm going to go to the incident count, and I'm going to see that that new station is going to be the closest responder to 800 and some incidents. It's going to take 346 away from station 60, and it's going to take about 350 away from station 65 in creating that new station. So when you're doing your planning, you have that amazing ability to see things that are going to happen before they happen. And that's the whole point of Darkhorse deployment, is to raise the level of your decision making and the types of interventions that you're going to put forward. Today I'm going to talk to you about the third module in the Darkhorse continuous improvement suite called Darkhorse Response. This module is HQ, and HQ kind of answers that monitoring question that allows you to very quickly see what's happening in your system, how many incidents did you respond to in the most recent day, week, or month, and to customize these reports to respond to what you're interested in at that moment. These are built to be both responsive on your desktop or on your mobile device. So you can quickly pick up your phone before you go into a meeting and see what your incident volume was, or what your response volume was over the last year, over the last month, or over the last quarter. Or you can see more sophisticated metrics like your response times. At the 90th percentile, we're 12 minutes, which has this beautiful visual to show us that 90% of my responses are to the left of that 12 minute and 15 seconds, which is a great way to describe to your stakeholders, what does a 90th percentile mean? Here's my medium call, somewhere around here, and it's very hard to get that 90th percentile down. We also have the ability to export either a data table or a picture so that this can seamlessly transition into a presentation or a PDF document that we would use for reporting purposes. The beauty of this tool is it stays up to date every night. It gets updated with new data, and it has the level of configurability that you would need to make those decisions and to bring out those discussions in your management meetings and in your discussions with other team members. So that concludes Darkhorse HQ. Again, a trustworthy, visually appealing, customizable dashboarding tool, accessible on your phone and on your desktop, that provides a single version of the truth for your team.